Hi everyone, and welcome to Teabag Channel. So in this video, we are going to be discussing the Green-Eyed Bandits. Gizelle Bryant and Robyn Dixon tackled the skin tone optics of RHOP earlier this week on the Reasonably Shady podcast with special guest Carlos King. They made some controversial statements. According to Gizelle, before RHOP, people weren't used to seeing green-eyed bandits on their television screens. And according to Robyn Dixon, she begged producers for more brown-skinned women because she felt viewers were not going to connect with a cast that was so light-skinned.
Yeah. And, you know, let's keep it all the way real, Carlos. TV had not seen people like us, had not seen light-skinned, green-eyed bandits, didn't understand, okay, they're educated, they black women, they went to college. Like, you know, that was so foreign back then. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like people just needed to, especially our culture, needed to understand, yeah, we with y'all. Like, we down, we about it. Now, I think Bravo wanted to establish us as they were confused as to what we were going to be. So it was like this big whole etiquette thing, right? Remember that?
Unfortunately, yes.
We didn't get it either. But I don't know. Season 2, what happened? We just got ratchet. What did we do?
I mean, I don't know. I guess he's talking about the addition of some people that he works closely with. That's what I'm going to assume. Is that what you're talking about, Carlos?
Oh, don't do it.
Is that what you're talking about?
No, don't do it. I love it.
All right, so this is the portion of the episode of the show, Carlos, in which you can ask us anything.
Say whatever you got to say.
Yes.
Ask us anything.
Yes.
Tell us anything.
Yeah.
You know, what you got to say.
Ooh.
And tell us, what would you do differently in Potomac? Or if you were a producer in Potomac, what do you see like, you know, are there things that you would have tried to produce differently or, you know, I don't know.
That's a very good question. Okay, so I'm happy to report that after season 1, where season 1 had potential, but like Gizelle admitted, it was all about etiquette, and no one gives a shit about that, right?
Right.
I am going to say this, and I'm going to be very real. Starting from season 2, you guys have excelled tremendously to the point of I wouldn't have done anything differently. I think you guys have it going on.
Thank you.
Y'all got it going on.
Thank you.
Really?
And I've said that the secret sauce and the beauty of Potomac is that, you know, because we're the last standing OGs. So like me, Robyn, Ashley, Karen have a chemistry about us that people want to see season after season, right? I mean, yes, we've gotten some people that have come and go along the way, but to keep the originals together for this long, I think has been very productive for the show.
I agree. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And your franchise does a marvelous job at casting. Mm-hmm. Y'all cast some good people to be on the show.
It's actually really hard to cast our show, though. You know that, right?
No, it's funny. I know the casting person who used to do it for years, and he said the same thing, but you guys find great people.
Right.
In the midst of the struggle. Like
Right.
Monique and Wendy and Candace and Mia.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Ascala.
No, ma'am. Ascala, no, ma'am.
Oh,
no, ma'am, Pam.
Carlos.
But
I want to say I think Mia was a great addition.
Yeah.
I think that she brings, you know, I always like something different. You know, Mia brings something different. And she owns her shit. She stands on who and what she is. I love that.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
okay.
and y'all better be honest. Would y'all say Monique Samuels was good for the show?
really? That's your question?
Oh God, listen, he been dying to say her name.
Okay.
He been dying.
So this is probably gonna, I don't know, upset some people maybe because people are very sensitive. So when we filmed the show and season 1 was about to premiere, I said, we don't have any color on this show. I said, we're too light skinned. We need some brown skinned people on the show. And I said, people aren't going to connect with us. You know, people who are, you know, used to watching Atlanta. I said, they're not going to connect with us because they're going to just see a cast full of light skinned people. So when Monique was casted, I was so happy. I was so happy to see a beautiful brown skinned woman cast on our show who's living the Potomac life that they wanted to see. I thought she was a fabulous addition to our show. You know, not just for that reason alone, but I thought that was so important for people to see that, and for them to be able to connect to us. And I mean, yeah, I think she was a good addition to the show. Of course, we had success. So,
Yeah.
you know, and I think, you know, a lot of it is that people tuned in. They saw Monique. They said, oh, well, let me watch this show and see what it's about. And then people were able to appreciate the show for what it was and not look at the show and say, I can't relate to anyone. So just for that reason alone, I think she was a great addition.
And so I agree with everything that Robyn said, but currently she's exactly where she should be, which is with you.
Now, I do agree. Real Housewives of Potomac was the first housewife series that focused on lighter-skinned African-American women. Real Housewives of Atlanta was definitely a trailblazer for Black women and definitely a trailblazer for brown-skinned Black women. I think that colorism is a real thing in the industry, and Bravo did it kind of the opposite way. Usually lighter-skinned women have the privilege of representing the Black race first. However, on Real Housewives of Atlanta, they really put brown-skinned Black women on the map for the Housewives franchise, and Potomac came along second. So yeah, with the exception of Kim Zolciak, Real Housewives of Atlanta was definitely a trailblazer for Black women, for putting, you know, an ensemble cast of all browner skinned Black women at the forefront. I also want to point out that I think I read somewhere, and I believe it was in Dave Quinn's book, Not All Diamonds and Rosé, the tell-all book about the Housewives, that originally Potomac was supposed to be like the Black Beverly Hills, with air quotes. I think that's a little problematic, you know, considering the fact that they, you know, casted people from, you know, the Jack and Jill organization and the AKAs and, you know, that kind of rigid colorist history that, you know, we hear about in the Black, you know, bourgeoisie area. I remember when the Potomac trailer first came out, and it was really interesting to me. I have to admit that although most people will be put off by Gizelle saying that we weren't used to seeing green-eyed bandits, because most people are like, what do you mean? Light-skinned women always get platforms. Light-skinned women are always seen in the media. That's true. But on the Housewives franchise, I wasn't used to seeing lighter-skinned women. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I guess representation is good for everyone. And I do remember seeing the trailer and being like, wow, these are all biracial women. I was clearly wrong. Some of them are African American, identify as African American, although they have mixed heritage. I quickly want to clarify, when I said that I was not used to seeing lighter skinned women on the Housewives franchise, I meant lighter skinned Black women. Obviously, the Housewives franchise is filled, you know, with lighter skinned women across the franchises who are not, you know, African American. But I meant lighter skinned Black women before Potomac. And yeah, Potomac was a predominantly lighter-skinned cast. You have Karen Huger, who's lighter-skinned, Gizelle and Robyn, who are both light-skinned with green eyes, Katie and Ashley Darby, who are both biracial women, and I think the only brown-skinned original was Charisse. I also agree with Robyn Dixon that Monique Samuels was a wonderful addition to the cast, but not just because she was brown-skinned, but because she just had it going on, and she was a great representation for affluent black women in general with a productive, healthy marriage. And I think I also disagree with Robyn, because Robyn was kind of insinuating that Monique was only a good addition in the beginning, but I think that Monique was a good addition in general. I know many fans disagree because they might see Monique as violent with the Candace situation, and I'm not going to get into that, but I do like Monique and Candace. I hate to say it, but I did feel a little bit of colorist undertones with Robyn and Gizelle. They have gotten in trouble before in the past with anti-black remarks. Look up their comments on James Harden. But it seemed in the podcast that they were trying to imply that when Monique came to the franchise, it got more ratchet as opposed to etiquette in season 1. And they also seemed to throw shade at Dr. Wendy Osefo. And when Carlos gave props to Wendy, Candace, Monique, and Mia for being newbies that were casted well, they seemed to only appreciate Mia, who was also lighter skinned. Now, RHOP has been accused by fans of having a colorism issue before, and I personally don't think it's as bad as, let's say, a Basketball Wives, like with the OG situation and stuff, but I do think that Robyn and Gizelle may have their own underlying colorism issues that should be addressed in the future. But to give them some credit, I do think it's also refreshing that Gizelle and Robyn were both aware of the skin tone optics and how it may look to the public. I'm glad they were candid about that. And I just hope that RHOP continues in the direction of casting more brown-skinned women, or just black women in general, and, not just get pigeonholed into making this, the light skin Atlanta. I think they've done a good job, with just making this a totally separate black cast. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. What do you guys think about the Green Eyed Bandits comments on, skin tone and the Housewives franchise? Drop down and let me know. Ciao.